Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of JMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Ainan. The title of this video is Walmart CEO sounds alarm on food shortages. All right, and I pretty much took the title from this guy's page right here. So this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 13. I'll start at 20. It says, as the proud hate humility, so doth the rich abhor the poor. A rich man beginning, it says, a rich man beginning to fall is held up of his friends, but a poor man being down is thrust away by his friends. When a rich man is fallen, he hath many helpers. He speaketh things not to be spoken, and yet men justify him. The poor man slipped, and yet they rebuked him too. He spake wisely and could have no place. When a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue, and look what he saith. They extol it to the clouds, but if the poor man speak, they say, what fellow is this? And if he stumble, they will help to overthrow him. Riches are good unto him that have no sin, and poverty is evil in the mouth of the ungodly. The heart of a man changes his countenance, whether it be for good or evil, and a merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance. A cheerful countenance is a token of a heart that is in prosperity. And the finding out of parables is a wearisome labor of the mind. All right, now I got this in the NLT too, but it pretty much explained that what it was going into was the rich man contrary to the poor man. Right, and here in these last days, we have Esau, Edom, the rulers of the world, and we have the prophets, basically, right? Because the message is going out, right? And the prophets, the men of the Lord, have been saying this for a long time that, everything that's happening now, right? But now even Esau and those people up there, with these businesses like Walmart, things like that, are now telling you what's to come. I want to grab this story about Lazarus. Let me grab it real quick. All right, let me grab this in the NLT. And I'm gonna get that story about Lazarus. All right, so this NLT, Ecclesiastes chapter 13, I'll start at 20. It says, arrogant people have nothing but scorn for the humble, and the rich think of the poor in the same way. When a rich person stumbles, his friends will steady him. But if a poor person falls, his friends will have nothing to do with him. When someone rich makes a mistake, there are many people to cover up for him and explain away all the things he never should have said. But let someone poor make a mistake, and he gets nothing but criticism. Even if what he says makes good sense, nobody will listen. It says when a rich person speaks, and that's the point I wanted was 23. It says when a rich person speaks, everyone is silent, and they praise him to the skies for what he says. But let a poor person speak, and everybody says, who is this? They push him down if he so much as stumbles. There's nothing wrong with being rich if you haven't sinned to get that way. But there's nothing sinful about being poor either. Only the ungodly think so. It's what is in your heart, which is your mind, that makes the expression on your face happy or sad. If you feel cheerful, you will look cheerful. Although making up proverbs calls for some intense thoughts, right? So basically when a rich man speaks, everyone listens. I don't need to get Lazarus. I might get it. But it says Walmart CEO. So Walmart CEO is a rich man. Sounds an alarm on food shortages. So let's see what's to come. Right. This is a large man abroad. Subscribe. Oh, I didn't subscribe. I just searched up or found it. I don't know. Maybe it was over here somewhere or something. I checked it out. It's pretty interesting. So if you want to, go watch his videos or see what he's talking about, there it is right there.
Welcome back to Large Man Abroad. Let's have a talk. There are going to be things that aren't at the stores anymore, and some items are going to be up in price significantly. This is a fact. You cannot argue this. People look to the CPI that was recently released and say that it's lower than it was last time, but that doesn't really mean anything. Not when it comes to data that's coming in right now. We have to look at the facts as they come in to know where we are going. Walmart is the largest retailer in America, and 90% of Americans live within 10 minutes of it. I think anyone in America knows that if you're going to go grocery shopping, yeah, you don't like Walmart, you don't trust Walmart, but guess what? They have some of the lowest prices out there. It's because they are the biggest company. So they can work with margins that are a lot smaller than pretty much any company out there. So their costs are going to be lower. But on Thursday, Walmart's chief financial officer came out and really started sounding the alarm bells that yes, price hikes are coming and shortages are coming to Walmart. And with the connections and control in the supply chain that Walmart has, if they're going to be getting hit, then everyone's going to be getting hit. On Thursday, Walmart CFO John David Ramey warned investors that even the retail giant known for its discounts will have to raise prices of many of the items because of the tariffs. That's even despite the 90-day reprieve that lowered duties on Chinese imports to 30%. Goods from dozens of countries still face a 10% duty. We're trying to navigate as best we can, but this is a little bit unprecedented in terms of speed and magnitude in which price increases are coming. He said the company is committed to keeping prices low relative to customers and will absorb some of the higher tariff costs, but said shoppers will likely see increases towards the end of May and more in June. And he predicted more markups than usual in the fiscal second quarter, which began earlier this month. As the largest retailer and grocer in the U.S., Walmart offered insight into what shoppers may have to pay more for and when at a range of stores and chains around the country. The company on Thursday gave clues about which specific items the department would be most affected by the tariffs. About a third of what Walmart sells in the U.S. is made, grown, and assembled in the country, but it relies on goods brought in from dozens of other nations, especially China, Mexico, Vietnam, India, and Canada. Tariffs on countries like Costa Rica, Peru, Colombia have put pressure on the price of imported items, including bananas, avocados, coffee, and roses. And he added that a high volume of merchandise in some categories like toys and electronics come from China. McMillan said Walmart has taken other steps to reduce tariff exposure along with price increases. Suppliers have shifted from materials like aluminum, which face tariffs, to fiberglass. Merchants have gotten creative by switching to other products and places to source merchandise. Ramey told CNBC that Walmart has cut the size of some orders for items where it expects to have bigger tariff-related price increases, since this will likely cause fewer customers to buy those products. See, this is what we mean when we're talking about the consequences of these tariffs, shortages, and price hikes, scarcity. This is what it really comes down to. The things that you wanted to buy last week aren't there next week. And it's not because those products aren't available on the market. It's just that the companies aren't going to buy them because they're not going to make money off of them. But they still exist, but no one's bringing them in. And that's where these shortages really come from. Why would businesses bring in merchandise that they're not going to make money on? Does it create scarcity? Yes. And even the company like Walmart, they have committed to making sure that the cost of food doesn't go up significantly, but that does hint that the cost of food is going to go up. If you watch my channel long enough, you know that I don't like Walmart. I don't like what they've done to American small business. I don't like what they've done to American small towns. They destroyed Main Street. But at the same time, I understand that the vast majority of Americans use Walmart. They shop there. They get their groceries there. Even I do sometimes. You can't argue that Walmart doesn't have the lowest prices out there. And if it's going to affect them, imagine how it's going to affect all the other retailers out there who are going to have to push their prices up or just completely stop ordering a lot of these products that are being shipped in. You can say, yeah, go ahead and buy American. Let's talk about food for a second. Yeah, America grows a lot of food. We do. But when you go to a store, what do you see? You see American food, let's say it's 50%. And then you have imported food, 50%. What happens when companies stop ordering the imported food and they only have American food, right? Now these food products, that's 50%. 50% of it's gone. There's scarcity right there. I mean, it's as easy as that for these things to go that bad. Let's say there's 20% less, 30% less, 30% less of food available on the shelves. Number one, that's going to cause panic buying. It's going to cause panic buying because people recognize that the products that were there last week are not there this week. What's going to be gone next week? And this creates panic. This creates panic buying. And that's where we get in the same trouble that we saw during the pandemic. Now, a 30% markup on imports that are coming in is crushing to the vast majority of businesses out there. Even 10% is enough to eat away at a lot of profits for a small business. Now, let's say even if that supply chain is reconnected, let's say the Trump administration go ahead and does away with the tariffs altogether. Number one, it's going to take a while for trade to start up again. It's not flipping a switch and everything starts coming in. A lot of these relationships that have been made between these countries.
All right, so this is where, pretty much get good, where he explains, that the 90-day tariff pause and all of that, and how things are backed up, and how it's going to affect the American people.
Is now either broken or in danger. And it takes a long time to get the products from the factories to the ships, to our ports, loaded in trucks, moved out to warehouses, redistributed to retailers. It's an incredibly long process. That's why we saw the tariffs take effect on April 11th, and we're only going to start seeing the impacts of those in the coming weeks. This takes time. Right? That means in that entire time since April 11th, there's been an absolute slowdown. So this protracted event that we're going to be facing is just that. It's protracted. It's longer. It's going to take more time than people say. It's not going to be shortages for a week and then that's it. No, this will last some time. Right? The 90.
Right. And there's already places in the world that are experiencing, shortages, right? Because they're not getting the stuff in, and this is what, the prophets and the Lord have been prophesying on for a while. Right. And now we're seeing it coming to pass, as in how is it coming to pass? Well, we have this cruel Lord pursuant to Isaiah 19, coming in and throwing tariffs on everybody and stopping the global trade, and it's going to bring in famines, and it's going to bring in people fighting for hunger, right? And all these things. And this is something that, the wicked elite could, use to bring in their order out of chaos, right? They could take this event where there's panic buying and the food runs out. They could turn off the lights at the same time, and then just, start the countdown towards the end, basically, and then bring in a solution, which would be the RFID chip, the Karagman, right? So this could be that event. And what he says is, okay, so we're going to experience the slowdown, and then you have this 90-day tariff pause where it could pick back up, but then it could, start back again, basically. So the elites could use that. They could, if things could get real bad, and then, Trump did the pause or whatever, so more stuff comes in, and then it goes in effect again, and then boom, that's it. It's done. It's finished. So that's something that they could do.
90-day pause in tariffs is just, that's a 90-day, but it's not being lifted after 90 days. What happens when the damage is done at that point, and those people that we're in a trade war with see the damage that's happening in America, see the pressure that that's going to put on our administration? What happens if they don't concede? Because I doubt that they will. The tariffs are either going to go up again or they're going to stay the same. Either way, that's going to be a minimum of 10 to 30% tariff. That's a 10 to 30% sales tax that the customer's paying, and that's a massive shortage of goods that are coming into the country, that our country can't produce. It is a shortage. There will be scarcity, and in scarcity, there are price hikes. It's supply and demand. So yes, it's coming.
Right, So this thing right here, it says plastic containers for milk, yogurt, butter, jams, peanut butter, tin cans, glass bottles, lids, plastic food wrappings, paper plates, picnic items, light bulbs, batteries, socket plugs. So much come from China. Even if America grows the food, it needs to be prepared for the supermarket, wrapped and put in containers, etc. Cardboard, egg cartons, onion and lemon bags, potato sacks, all come from China. So products can be put on shelves. You can't have American cheeses, yogurt, or milk and nothing to put it in. No bread bags. People need to stop thinking China is only about a $2 candle from Walmart. Right. So this thing is bigger than, what you might think it is. And the guy that made a video said exactly. This guy says, I saw a U.S. food producer complaining about that very problem. He said the packaging he sells his products in comes from China and is getting very expensive, so his products has to go up in price. Yeah, so even some food that might not have the tariff on it, the package itself, it costs more than the food. Right, so hey, the warning went out, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6. And started 11. 2nd Ezra chapter 6:11, it says, I answered then and said, O Lord, that bears rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, show thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou showedest me the part the last night. So he answered me and said, unto me, stand up upon thy feet and hear a mighty sounding voice, and it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore, when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end. So the word is of the end, right? And that's where we're at right now. The end has manifested. It says, in the foundation of the earth is understood. Right, so creation, creation itself is understands, basically the end. It says, and why? Because the speech of these things trembleth and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. It says, and it happened that when I had heard it, I stood upon my feet and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and visit them that dwell upon the earth. It says, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness. and when the affliction of silence shall be fulfilled, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see altogether. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The woman with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear, they shall be suddenly afraid. It says, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So very bad times. Let me get this in the NLT. Or the GNT. Let's see what it's saying over here. So I'll start 11 again. Second Ezra 6 and 11, it says, Lord and Master, I said, please hear my request. On that earlier night, you showed me some of the signs of the end. Now, please show me the rest. It says, stand up, he said, and you will hear a very loud voice. The place where you are standing is violently shaken. While the voice is speaking, don't be afraid. The message will be about the end of the world, and the foundations of the world will understand. It says that the voice is speaking about them. They will tremble and quake because they know that they will undergo a change when the end comes. It says, when he said this, I stood up and listened. I heard a voice that sounded like a roaring river. It said, the time is near when I will come to judge the people living on the earth. I will punish those who have hurt others with their injustice. Jerusalem's humiliation will come to an end. And this age, which is about to pass away, will have the final seal put on it. Then I will give the following signs. The books will be opened across the sky for all to see. Children only a year old will speak. Pregnant women will give birth after only 3 or 4 months, and their premature babies will live and run about. Planted fields will suddenly become bare, and full barns will suddenly become empty. Then the trumpet will sound, and sudden terror will grip the heart of everyone when they hear it. It says, friends will fight like enemies, and the earth and its people will be terrified. Rivers will stop flowing and stand still for 3 hours. Right, so, bad times. This is Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 17. And then I'll got this in NLT too, and that'll be that. This is woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. It says, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. It says, behold, vigil shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth toward famine and great confusion. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall destroy. So, that's exactly what's coming. And people are not really mindful. Well, I mean, a lot of people are mindful of what's happening now, but some people are still like, okay, well, it's going to get better, or, whatnot. Let me grab this down here. So this is Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 17. It says, I'm doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? Troubles will come, and many people will groan. Famine will come, and many will die. Wars will come, and the world powers will tremble. Disasters will come, and everyone will be terrified. What will people do when these disasters come? It says famine. I don't know if I can say this word. This pestilence, famine, pestilence, troubles, and sufferings, because they were sensitive with these things, because they're the individuals that cause these things to happen, right? And they don't want to be found out to be the ones, doing these things. We the prophets and the Lord, we tell you the devil is the devil. He's going to do what the devil do, which is put these things out there, right? Because he's the sword of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, right? So the Most High has allowed this devil to tap into many different things, and this is one of those. But the world is listening to the prophets, right? Even the enemies of the leaders of the world, which would be the 1948ers, the small hats, the JOOs, right? And their hub of wickedness is America. right? That's why you see now, like Donald Trump is following after Israel, you know. So famine, pestilence, troubles, and sufferings are sent to punish and correct people. It says, but in spite of all this, they will not turn away from their sins. They soon forget their punishment. It says the time is coming when food will be so cheap that people will think a time of peace and plenty has arrived, but then disasters will spring up everywhere, wars, famine, and great confusion. And that's the time we're living in now. It says many people on earth will starve to death, and those who escape starvation will be killed in war. It says their corpses will be thrown out like garbage, and there will be no one left to comfort the living. The earth will be deserted and its cities demolished. Right, so total destruction. And like I said, this event could be something that starts that. Right, so the one that has went out, Lord willing, you're edified from the lesson. I'll say shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.